I'm going to show you that there are three types of quadratic equations. All of them use a different technique. Okay, so let's start with this first one. Let's say you have this equation, quadratic default. Default should be quadratic formula. Okay, by default, we will go for quadratic formula. Let's start with this first. Method 2, we talk about it later on. So quadratic formula then will hold for something like this. I see a quadratic equation. They want me to solve for the complex numbers. Let's write out Z using your quadratic formula. So we start with negative b plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac over your 2a. Let me just pull out my graphing calculator. Okay, so from here we carry on. So we have minus I plus 4 plus minus square root. Okay, so I need you to know that it is possible to key all this onto the graphing calculator, and you should. Okay, default all the squares, plus, minus, all use the graphing calculator, which means that over here, we will want to key this in. I just show you once here. Put everything to the main screen as long as they didn't restrict. Okay, we will just key on the main screen and we can get an answer. Plus, minus, times, divide, square, square roots, all do on the GC. So this will be negative 9. So this will then be minus I plus 4 plus minus. Your root minus 9 means root 9 root minus 1. Okay, so we will continue with this. Square root 9 is 3. Root minus 1 is I. And we finish up with the over 2. When you have root negative number, we split up this way, root 9 and root minus 1. So there will be two answers. Okay, let me just write on the right. Okay, so let's go on to the second example. I am given a quadratic equation. The difference is now you are given one root. However, there is an unknown in the equation. There is an a. First one is they ask you to find the a value. Whenever you are given a root and you want to find unknown, okay, just put here, you want to find unknown. You don't want to find roots, it's different. Finding unknown, the default strategy is to substitute the root into your W. Okay, so we take the 1 plus I, we put it to our W equations over here. Okay, that should be the default strategy to find unknown, not to find roots. Okay, so part 1, we are going to start with that. Okay, and we will say we substitute your 1 plus I into W. I remind you again in this chapter, try to keep using the GC if you can. Okay, don't forget that we can calculate everything on the graphing calculator unless the question restricts the use. Okay, so this whole segment, this whole chunk is graphing calculator. If we calculate, we will get negative 11 plus I. And then we still have the A minus I. So minus 11 is minus A. A will be 11. Part 2. After we found the unknown, part 2 is to ask to find the other root of the equation. Other root. You already have one root. To find the other root, don't go for quadratic formula. There's a better way to do it if you already have one root. Can we call the root as maybe a C? Let's let the second root be a constant C, where C is a complex number. This is the notation for set of complex numbers. The concept is to form factors. So let's copy the initial equation on the left. This is the initial equation given in the problem. I would like to form factors on the right side. Factors means you take the variable, you subtract the root. My root is 1 plus I. My variable is W. So W minus 1 plus I gives me one factor. Second one, same. W minus C. But you must make one other check. The coefficient of W squared is 1. So W times W here also gives me the same coefficient, W squared also. Let's say this was a 4. Then you must also have 4 outside to compensate. Okay, so you must check for the largest degree of the W squared if we want to use this method. Okay, but let me remove the 4. In this question, we don't need. So after you're done here, it's a matter of comparing coefficient. I can compare coefficient for W. The most efficient method for this kind of quadratic equation is to compare for this term. You will have less tedious calculations. Okay, so we compare for W. My left side is minus of this. This is the coefficient. I just write down the coefficient only. On the right-hand side, we have to go for expansions that gives me a W term, which are these two. I just pair up those that can give me W and we write down. Okay, so these two green ones will give me a W coefficient. I will get minus C, minus 1 plus I. And so we are done. This is that second root. Okay, so this is faster than quadratic formula, but only because I have one root given. This is a different problem type, but you must be able to recognize the problem that you know you can apply something at.